First, I am going to start with that legal fight that has materialized between Tesla's Elon Musk and the county of Alameda. I know the state is not directly involved per se, but it is involved given the fact that the county is putting its own standards in place versus what the state has put in place in terms of phase-in and reopening of businesses. Where do you stand on that situation? And have you actually spoken to Tesla and also county officials as all of this has unfolded?
So the governor declared the state of emergency. As a result, there are certain instructions and orders that we must all follow to try to address the pandemic and make sure that the state can go back to its regular course of business. My job is to make sure we enforce the orders of the governor, and we will do that and have been doing that. In terms of how the counties implement, the orders do have some flexibility, and they're meant to try to address the needs of particular communities. But we will continue to enforce where necessary. It looks like in the situation that you've mentioned, that in the Bay Area, that Tesla is in conversations with the county, and hopefully they're going to be able to move forward.
So I just want to make sure I understand this, because Governor Newsom has repeatedly said that counties, like in this case Alameda, can impose restrictions that are more stringent than the state orders, which I know you just mentioned as well, essentially giving more power to counties and municipalities. And in the case of Alameda, you're talking about, in some cases, unelected interim officials versus the elected officials at the state level. So I can see how this would be confusing for businesses and venture into the gray area around constitutionality and start to raise some of these legal suits. How can you make that clearer? And is that really the case, that the municipalities have more power than the state?
Well, remember, you always have a different level in terms of jurisdiction and authority. And so while the state has overall authority, if the state gives the locals some discretion, they can then exercise that discretion. Here, the paramount concern is health and well-being and saving lives. And so the state, the governor has issued certain declarations, and where there is some discretion, the local authorities, the county officials, have the opportunity to implement as they see fit for their county. In this case, the conversation is going on between Tesla and the county. But at the state level, we're ready to enforce if we find that anyone is violating the state orders issued by the governor.
Mr. Attorney General, good morning. It's John Fort. I know that you take issue with the way that the likes of Uber and Lyft have not adhered to AB 5 as you see it. Going beyond that, though, there have been some headlines over the past couple days that Uber is looking to acquire Grubhub. We'll see whether that happens or not. But is that the sort of transaction that you would scrutinize?
So, John, thanks again for having me. The situation with Uber and Lyft is that not just that we claim now that they have violated state law, the new AB 5 state law, but they were violating the ruling by our California Supreme Court when it came to how you classify workers, whether they are employees or whether they are independent contractors. Our suit is simply to uphold state law, the ruling of the Supreme Court, which was codified by AB 5, to make sure that workers have all the rights and protections that they're entitled to, and at the same time that the state and our local governments don't have to carry the burden of providing services and benefits that employees typically get but would not get if they're classified as independent contractors. And right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's become very clear when you are classified as an independent contractor, you don't qualify for unemployment insurance. And there are a whole bunch. There are millions of Americans who are losing their jobs and relying on unemployment insurance. A lot of these so-called, or at least classified workers who are independent contractors through that classification are losing out on those types of benefits. And so we're trying to make sure that in California, everyone who works and is an employee is receiving their benefits and protections. In terms of any acquisitions, it'd be hard to comment at this stage. We will do what we need to do to make sure that the laws in California are complied with.
And that's what I wonder, how much does Uber's behavior when it comes to something like complying with AB 5 ultimately play into how you might look at them acquiring another public company?
It's not so much, John, what they say, it's what they do. And if the company has treated its employees the way we would expect in terms of providing benefits, minimum wage, overtime benefits, making sure that the unemployment insurance is paid for these individuals, then we move forward. They're complying with California law. If they try to treat workers who should be treated as employees as if they were independent contractors, then of course we would find ourselves in the same situation where we filed the lawsuit against Uber and Lyft in the first place.